Hey, Addi, it's Nathan. In regards to your first question, why is it so important to not conform someone in healthcare? Um, Health practices around like the whole world and around cultures, they're all kind of different, and they can be very different, especially when inside this book of they called me uncivilized, because and it's important to not to like conform someone, because when you conform someone to that to our health practices, you actually are taking away a piece of their beliefs and practices, and kind of like a little bit of almost destroying their type of culture and taking it away from them. Which I took this class called World Civilizations, where we kind of covered um, cultures other than our own European Christian views, and that was kind of the main takeaway is why it's important not to conform someone, because that's kind of what European Christianity kind of that was their main kind of purpose back then, was trying to kind of conform individuals over to Christianity because they thought their view was the right way. And what it ended up doing is just slowly destroying their culture and what they believed. And that's kind of what's why it's important not to conform someone over to that, in even in healthcare, because even like some of our practices, like chiropractic, is very it's not that well researched yet, and it has a little. And if you told that to someone, um, like a Lakota individual, they probably would think that that's kind of out of the ordinary. So that's kind of why it's best not to try to conform someone in healthcare. That kind of goes into the second question, the best way to approach someone that had an infection and told a story about how coyotes helped him back to health. And that kind of tells you that that's what he believed. And what the best way, what you can do then, is ask more questions, because you actually might learn something in the end. That's what a lot of we get out of the ordinary, is that we think we know what's right and wrong, when we don't ask more questions on uh, why it works, and then we might actually learn something, a different health practice that actually works, and especially it probably works for them, because he even told this story vividly. You could tell that he's told this story many times, and he's not making it up. And so that's kind of goes with question number two. Number three, why is it so important to respect someone's health practices, and how should we go about asking more about the NEPI? So, um, again, this kind of why we should respect people's health practices, the same thing. Uh, they actually work, with the NEPI in particular. It seemed that that was a very good mental health way for the Lakota to get away all those bad thoughts, a good kind of therapy mechanism that they used, and then also asking more questions. And so they got really hard questions answered for them, and good advice. So it's no different than our actual therapy that we use today, traditional therapy. For number four, anything interesting or new I heard about? Uh, Definitely the John Dillinger thing I thought was very interesting. I never heard about that. Uh, that was kind of very interesting that they actually housed John Dillinger inside their home, and kept him inside. So I thought that was really interesting, because I'm kind of into that crime type of thing. But also, um, um, what else? I also thought, what else I think was interesting. Uh, Knowing more, just overall, the Lakota, or just I didn't know like a lot about um, Native Americans inside Nebraska, and so it was kind of nice to hear more about Native American history inside Nebraska, and so and then also getting more about like their beliefs and practices and cultures, because I always think that's kind of interesting now, since I took that World Civilizations class. Um, it's given me a lot of interesting knowledge and more. I'm really more interested in it, and so especially inside our own state, it was kind of interesting to hear about that. And then number 5, when is the point where they take individuals to the hospital and when they take them to the NEPI? So when you could tell like they're not like they know when someone's hurt and medically hurt and physically hurt, that they have to actually do something to them and not something spiritual as a lot of people would think that they would do to someone. They even explained how they use the NDP, and it was only for like answering questions for them or clearing their thoughts, and a good therapy mechanism to clear all those bad thoughts away. They wouldn't take a person that's physically hurt that broke his hip to an NEPI because they know that that's not going to heal them, and so that's why they took him to the hospital. And so that's just goes to show that like just listen, because everybody's health practices are going to be different, and just to always listen. And I'm interested to hear what other people have to think about about like question 1 and 2. So thank you very much. Have a good one.